Obviously pleased with how everything went Friday night. I think just kudos to our event management people and to our marketing people and to Alyssa on everything she does with our social media and just the whole crew. Brian, Grace, Dave Haskins, on and on and on. Eric in tickets. The atmosphere in there Friday night was as good as I can ever remember it being, and the way that, we added those light up bracelets, and you got to choreograph that, and think things can get sideways quickly when you start adding things like that in the middle of the season. I just thought they did a fantastic job managing a tremendous crowd and a tremendous environment, and something really not seen in college gymnastics right now. I met with them this morning and just gave them as much praise as I could, because I'm the first one to gripe when it's not great. So I was thrilled with the atmosphere and the experience that I hope our fans had, and certainly it elevated the experience for the student athletes as well, and it's a good thing for college gymnastics.
Gripe?
I have other words, but I probably shouldn't use them in here.
No.
Yeah, gripe.
I can't imagine that would be the case.
Oh, me griping? You can't imagine that?
No. Okay, the scoring. We ask you about this every year when the scoring happens, but it's very
annoying.
Say what you want about it, but it's at least y'all haven't gone to the open-ended scoring like in international competition. But it's very difficult for fans to understand how you can beat the number one team and drop in the national rankings. And I know you can drop the score if you get a good score this week, and that'll probably boost you back up. But still, it seems like a detriment to the sport.
It is. It makes us. It certainly doesn't make us more understandable. I mean, that's the thing in a sport like ours. The things that I advocate for and the things that I tend to get perturbed about are things that erode our understandability, because as popular as great as we're doing here in terms of attendance, nationally we're still trying to grow as a sport and increase the awareness, and so things like this, I've advocated for straight average for a long time, and that wouldn't have moved us anywhere. It would have kept us second, but at least then you could just say it's solely based on average. But when you start talking about NQS and you have to explain a formula to average Joe fan who doesn't know an awful lot about gymnastics but knows he loves the purple and gold or whatever colors of his school are, and you're trying to attract them to be a consistent part of your fan base, it just adds a layer of difficulty. So it is what it is. I mean, we've been dealing. This is not a new issue. We've had a variation of what used to be called an RQS, and then it went to NQS, and at the end of the day, it'll level itself out, and we'll see where everything goes. That's why it's important that we don't lay an egg when we go on the road, really, because you can avoid, having to explain it if you don't do that. It doesn't mean that we won't make mistakes, from time to time, because it is difficult when you get in other people's environment on their equipment, and that does take time to adjust. But we let one get away from us a few weeks back, and so that's the ripple effect.
That was kind of what I was going to ask you. Like in football, if you were number 3 and beat the number 1, you'd be the number 1. And
probably, yeah. I mean, it's probably not a guarantee anymore like it used to be, but because that committee decides everything now. But yeah, it's an oddity. There's no getting around it, and it's something that it doesn't. Some years it doesn't move things around a lot. This year there was pretty seismic. There were some people that moved pretty significantly in the first week of NQS. I don't know who all of them are, but again, we can't get wrapped up in that. I was joked with Kylie when you asked her that. Like, I'm kind of glad she doesn't really fully understand it, because it's just not something that we that's evidence of everything I tell you guys when we tell them not to get distracted by scores and judging and things that are out of their control. The fact that she really had a very sort of kind of incomplete understanding of how that works, I thought was perfect because we really don't want them to be focused on that and where they're ranked and that kind of thing.
And you were number 2, not number 3. That's
Yeah.
going into it.
Yeah.
So your fans are ecstatic. It's like a perfect night, packed house. We beat the number 1 team in the country and whatnot. How does the team absorb that in terms of confidence and, hey, we can do it? And then the national championships are like in mid to late April, right? So
Well, I mean, in a perfect world, it's an emotional lift. It's a confidence builder. It's maybe a psychological advantage to know that you can compete with the absolute best on any given night. I don't think anybody's under any false illusion that Oklahoma had their best day, but at the same time, it should grow our confidence. But in this particular meet, we had a lot of emotional upheaval. Too. There was a lot of emotional energy that was drained. So we walked in yesterday, and I told them, we're not going to do much. We're going to get out there and stretch and do it. If you have an event that you feel like you need to get some work done on, great. But I made it basically optional practice yesterday because they were smoked, and I could feel it. When I'm tired the way that I was, I know they are. And most of that was just mental and emotional energy that we just needed an extra day of recovery. So if we got to give up a day of training to do that, then that's what we'll do.
Do you have any updates on the Chase situation? I know you said she was going in for imaging.
Yeah, it's been done. I think it's an Achilles injury, so it's we will move forward. I don't know that it's been scheduled to be repaired or what the date is just yet or anything like that. But she's it was a little bit unusual, but ultimately the result pretty much is the same.
Jay, if you could change the national qualifying score format, what would you change it to? Do you think it should
Straight
be
average.
Straight average?
Just straight average. Count everything. I don't know what sport counts 50% of what they do, but that's what we end up doing. Like I don't even, the RQS or a formula like that has been around since before me. But we've advocated, there's been a movement to try and go to straight average for gosh, on and off for 15, 20 years. Sometimes I've written the proposal, sometimes other people have written the proposal. And we have these discussions that ultimately lead to, well, what if a team, they all come down and get sick and they have to forfeit the meet, and then you're going to make them count a 0. Okay, well, let's build a caveat in for that. Let's have some documentation process or something. But there's always some argument rooted in fear of what it might do, and I just think historically, when you go back and look at the data, it doesn't move things around all that much. And I think you get a little truer picture. But whether it's truer or not, it's more easily digested by new fans, and understandability is key for our survival as a sport. So that's really why I advocate for it. I don't. I mean, there have been issues. I can remember. I think Cal Berkeley. This was before Justin and Liz were there. I think their whole team got like norovirus or something, and they had to initially postpone and eventually cancel a meet one time. And so that happens once in a generation, and it becomes sort of the end all be all fear of changing to what we do. It's fine. I mean, it's fine for what it is. I mean, I really don't care that we're ranked third. That doesn't matter to me right now. It doesn't matter to me in the least. What matters to me is that I have to answer these questions about it, because it is difficult for the layperson who doesn't know our sport to understand it. And I just wish we were more. And I want us to be as easily understandable as possible. And that's ultimately where I go with it.
Something that you and the coaches deal with, hunting a road score, I guess. How do you not translate that over to the girls, even though they all know they need one?
Yeah, I mean, they know enough to know. I mean, ultimately they're not oblivious to these things, and they're not oblivious to the fact that there's a regular season championship that we're competing for. they're not oblivious to any of the things that we talk about in this room and that fans emphasize and that kind of thing. But the point is that internally we de-emphasize it as much as possible, just because we have to be process and performance based in our thinking rather than outcome or perception. We understand the value of all those things, but it just doesn't enter into the equation with how we prepare or the kinds of things we're saying, or a pre-meet speech that they're going to get from me is not going to be a fire and brimstone, run through a brick wall because we want to be number one kind of talk. That's not how it works in this sport. And you've got to keep things between the lines a little bit emotionally and stay focused on the task at hand and just take your next step as a team and as a program. Get a little better. We measure ourselves against ourselves, and then against what everyone in the nation does that weekend, because ultimately that's part of our thing too. So it's complicated.
Have you had any conversations with Aaliyah about getting some rest, and have you figured out a formula that might work?
Not since Friday night. We've talked about it a little bit before. Her body actually feels pretty good, according to what she's saying. We talked a little bit about changing her approach on that last pass. When you watch the video, there's real reasons that she's technical reasons that she's stepping out of bounds. And I don't want to get into it right now, but I think we'll address that today. She kind of understands the correction that I gave her at the end of the competition, and I think it'll bode well. She'll be fine.
What's your message to the LSU fans who come to support you every meet?
The message is thank you. It's what they have helped us create is something that I hope every recruit in the nation sees and that wants to be a part of. When you look at that place on television, because I go home after every meet because I can't sleep and the adrenaline's still going, and I rewatch our meet and I watch meets from around the country, and the way that place presents on television and the enthusiasm that just comes oozing out of the TV when you can hear it and see it, and it's special. It's different. It's unique. There's nothing like it, and there's other places that get big crowds. I think our fans do a good job now of being respectful. I was proud of our students. I asked the Oklahoma coaches, did they have any problems over there by Beam? Because I don't want that for us. Even though we experience it sometimes in other places, we want our fans to be crazy and enthusiastic when it's appropriate. Again, there's an appropriate way to be obnoxious, and we want them to be obnoxious when it's called for in the time. But all accounts were that our fans were respectful. The volume, during the beam sets was respectful. We didn't do any gimmicks or anything while they were on balance beam. That to me is important, and so I am proud of the environment that our fans and our department have helped us create, and it's taken a lot of work and a lot of years and to do that, and it's been pretty steady. Our first sellout was in 2015, and we really haven't looked back in any real large way since then. And so they've stayed with us, and it hasn't always been pretty along the way. We didn't win a championship till last year, and so but they've stuck with us, and they've been incredibly supportive and ardent and vocal, and it's different, and it just embodies the entirety of the fan base for LSU as a whole. I mean, it's that way across the street for baseball. It's that way for women's basketball. It's that way for football, and I know that our fans are across the board just the best.
There was a lot of talk on social media about Oklahoma leaving the floor, or
Nah.
something like that. I just wanted if you wanted to address it.
When you're a coach,
I read that they came back, that they had some kind of meeting
yeah,
and came back. What is your
you're
understanding?
a coach and your meet's over and the last routine goes and she pulls her team in the tunnel so they can hear her talk because the environment is so loud with Haley Bryant going on floor. That's perfectly understandable. The people on the internet want to make a mountain out of everything, man. And they don't want to contextualize anything. A lot of times, I mean, that's just a normal thing for a coach to do. I don't think there was any malintent or disrespect at all. They pulled them back to circle them up, and they wanted the kids to be able to hear what they were saying because it's loud in there on a floor routine. I didn't read anything into that. They came out and were shaking hands with our kids, and they were very gracious in defeat. Nobody likes to lose, and we don't like to lose either. But there was nothing there at all. That's all manufactured garbage. Yeah.
Quick follow-up. So Chase Brock, she won't compete this week?
No, she's out indefinitely.
No,
yeah.
okay. So looking at the scores, Amari, one judge gave her a 10, which you see a 10 is like, oh my God.
Yeah, I thought it was a great routine.
So the other one, there's a big difference between the two?
Yeah,
or-
if you want an explanation, you'd have to ask the judges. I thought it was the best routine Amari has done this year to date. I wouldn't say that I 100% think it was a 10, but I don't know that I thought it was a 9.9 either. I thought the average probably was right at the end of the day. 9.95 is nothing to sneeze at, so we'll take it. If we're complaining about 9.95s, then we are misplaced in our energy a little bit.
Tori, Liv, Lona on bars. Where are they at? And
Tori's in a good place. Tori could go if we need her to on bars. We've made some changes to her routine that make it a little bit easier and a little bit cleaner for her right now. Liv's knee is still an issue. It's not anything. There's not like a stress fracture or anything. There's a stress reaction kind of situation on her kneecap. It's just painful, and so the only remedy for that is rest. So we've got to kind of ride it out and see where that goes. Who else did you ask me? Oh, Alona's ready on bars. Alona was our alternate Friday night and went out there and she was ready to go. I don't know whether she's in this week or not, but she's in a position to be. We're seeing movement in other places. Connor vaulted yesterday, and last week moved her double layout off the rod floor to the spring floor, and she's been cleared to tumble since the 6-month mark, and so I think we're at 8 months, but now she's beginning to be able to do routines or close to that. We have to be careful how we don't want to do that a lot because we do still need to be judicious, but the docs feel great about where she is, and so she's right on schedule with what you would want from a recovery standpoint from that injury. KJ did full floor yesterday when we came in, so that's on the rod floor. We're trying to keep her there, but that's not unusual. We keep Aaliyah on the rod floor. We keep Kalia on the rod floor. They don't touch the spring floor until they go into a competition. They've just shown the ability to be able to make that transition. It's easier on their bodies. So yeah, there's some good things happening. It's just unfortunate. You get some things going. Update on Haley. You guys didn't ask me, so I'll give it to you anyway. What's the matter with you people? You're off your game today. Haley did bars yesterday, and it was the day she was able to that they let her do her releases, and she goes, I think I can do a full set. And I'm like, you don't have to. We need to take our time. She cranked one out like she hadn't missed a beat. So she's an option on bars going forward. Whether or not it happens this week or not, I will not commit to that one way or the other right now, but she's back in the mix there. So things are moving in the right direction. But as I mentioned, we're kind of past that halfway point, and there's not a whole lot left. So if whatever experimentation or changes that we have the ability to make, we need to do ASAP if we need to take a look at things. You know, and we've had 2 kids do it all around every single meet. That's never. I mean, we had to do that with Haley in the past. It's never a great. I don't like that as a great formula. I'd love to be able to rest Chio and Aaliyah, but we just have to make sure we're making the right decisions too. You know, we don't want to upset the apple cart too much. Did I cover them all? Okay.